Hello everybody, my name is Molly. I am a speech and language therapist from Evelina London Children and Young People's Community Speech and Language Therapy. Welcome to today's video. The video today is going to be about using a visual timetable around the mealtime routine that you have with your child, and I'm also going to be sharing a top tip of this video. The video today is aimed towards children who are in Key Stage 1, but do have a look on our page for other videos and more videos which are to come, which are aimed towards children of different ages. To make the visual timetable, today I'm going to be using a few pieces of paper, a pen. I'm also going to be using scissors to cut out the pieces of paper, and blue tacks to stick the paper to a whiteboard. This is so that I can hold up the visual timetable to show it to you. But you don't have to do this. You can cut out pieces of paper like me, but stick them to a wall instead in one big long row so that your child can see them. Or you could just use paper and a pen and cross off activities as you go instead of taking them off like you'll see me doing. I'm also going to demonstrate doing a visual timetable this way, just using a piece of paper and a pen to cross it off. So this is a nice simple way that you can have a go at. So if you want to join the activity with me today, then what you'll need is at least a piece of paper and a pen. And you'll also need to have a think about a list of activities which you typically do during meal times with your child. So for today's video, I'm going to be talking about washing hands, setting the table, sitting down, eating, and I'm going to talk about eating toast, and then tidy up, which is putting the plate in the sink, and then finished. But you can totally modify and change these steps to your mealtime routine depending on what you and your family do. Okay, so let's get started. This is the visual timetable which I'm going to be using to show you what we're doing in our session today. Thank you, bear with. So this is the visual timetable which is showing you what we're doing in our session today. So we're going to start off by saying hello, then we'll talk about our top tip of this session, then we'll talk about the visual timetable for our mealtime routine, and then we'll say goodbye. This is the simplest version of a visual timetable you can make, and you can also do something like this for the mealtime timetable I'll show you later. What we'll do is when each of these is finished, we're going to cross it off with a pen. So for today, our hello, this is finished, so we can cross this off. I'll take my pen and I'll cross off hello from the visual timetable. Now next, it's time for our top tip of this video. So the tip of the week is around setting expectations for the activity that you're doing with your child and using visuals to set these expectations. So to explain this, a visual is kind of a fancy word for some kind of picture and sometimes written words to represent a spoken words that you've said, with the idea that this makes it easier for your child to understand and remember them. So the visual might be a drawing, and I'm going to show you lots of examples of using drawing and written words in the visuals I'm showing you today. But something which is actually a little bit easier to understand is using a photo instead. Particularly, you could use a photo of something your child is familiar with around the house that represents that stage or expectation in the activity. You could also use an object, which is easier again to understand than the photo. So I'll show you an example. If you're doing a mealtime routine, then you might want to set the expectation that during the mealtime, you're going to sit down. So you're going to do good sitting. Instead of just telling them this, you could show them the visual. So I've made a visual here for good sitting, which is just a simple drawing of a chair that I've done with the words good sitting. What you would do is before your meal, you tell your child, we're going to do good sitting, and show them the visual. During the meal, you're going to leave this visual in front of them as a reminder that they're going to do good sitting throughout this meal, and it should be somewhere they can see it. You can completely change this depending on what you're doing. So for example, if you're reading together, you might make a visual for good listening, or you could draw a picture of an ear. Or if you're playing a game which involves taking turns, you could do a visual for good waiting, and you could make a stop sign with your hand on the picture, for example. So you can completely adapt this depending on the activity that you're doing. What's really useful about these visuals is that firstly, they simplify the message for your child and make it easier for them to understand. So you've got the picture or the photograph there, which supports their understanding of the spoken words that you've said. It also helps your child remember the expectations that you've told them about for this activity. So if you just said, we're going to do good sitting at dinner today, these words will disappear, and it's hard for your child to remember that when lots of other things are going on. If you're telling them they're going to do good sitting and you leave this in front of them, and every time you remind them that you're practicing good sitting, you point to this, then it helps them remember, because this visual stays there in front of them, while spoken words, they've disappeared. So it can help them remember the things that they're supposed to be doing and reinforce what you've said out loud. Okay, so let's go back to our first visual timetable. That's our top tip finished. I'll take my pen and I'm going to cross off top tip, because top tip is finished. Next, it's time to make our mealtime visual timetable. Okay, so the idea of this visual timetable is it's to show your child what is happening at meal times. Mealtimes often have multiple steps, and this can be quite a daunting task for some children. The timetable aims to break down the mealtime into smaller steps to help them understand what's happening, and hopefully this might reduce some of their uncertainty or worry about the mealtime. Keep the information on the timetable short and simple, so like 1 to 2 words for each step, and this will help your child understand. Like the visual we talked about before for good sitting, the timetable is going to stay where your child can see it. This will help them remember what's happening now and what's happening next. This is much easier than remembering spoken words. If you told your child with spoken words, first we're going to wash our hands, then we're going to lay the table, then we're going to sit down, then we're going to eat, that's a lot for them to remember. Having the visual, which we're going to make and show you together, that will stay in front of the child, which means they don't have to remember it because it's right there. Also, like the good sitting example that I showed you at the beginning, you're going to support the spoken words with pictures or photographs, or you could use objects. Today I'm going to be using written words and pictures, so the visual timetable is going to look like this. I've cut out a square of paper for each stage of the mealtime with the written words for the stage, like wash hands, and I've drawn a picture above each one, so the picture can help the child understand the spoken and written words that are here. You could modify this. Instead of drawing the picture, you could have a photograph. For example, you could have a photograph of your child actually washing their hands. This would make it easier for them to understand that stage of the routine because it's a photo of them doing it. You could also make your visual timetable flat, put it down on a surface and use objects. For example, you might use a little bar of soap, put it next to the written words for wash hands, and that object will help them understand the words you've said for wash hands, and then once each one is done, you take the object away. So there's lots of different ways you can use a visual timetable. The other way you can do it is, like I've been showing you throughout this session, you can just use a piece of paper and a pen to draw or write out each stage of your mealtime and cross it off as we go. What we're going to be doing, if you cut out a square for each part of your mealtime routine, is we can actually take this off the whiteboard, or it might be the wall at home, and you can get your child involved in taking each thing off once it's finished. If your child quite enjoys this, you could also have like a cardboard box or some kind of container which all the visuals go in once they've been finished with as well. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to demonstrate using this visual timetable for a meal. What we'll do first is you would tell your child that it's mealtime and get their attention by calling their name. I'll then go through the visual timetable with them like you would with your child, and leave pauses for when you would actually do each of these activities. Okay, so you'd start by calling their name and you tell them, it's dinner time. It's time for dinner. First, we're going to wash our hands. Then, we're going to set the table. Then, we're going to sit down. Then, eat. We're going to eat toast. Then, put plate in the sink. And finally, we're finished. Let's get started with dinner time. So first, we need to wash our hands. Let's go and wash our hands. And then you'd go with your child to go and wash your hands. Good hand washing. Wash hands is finished. We're going to take off wash hands. So washed hands is finished. Next, set the table. Let's set the table. Good listening. We've set the table. Set the table is finished. So now we're going to, that's right, we're going to set the table off because set table is finished. Now it's time to sit down. Let's sit down. Good sitting. Sit down is finished. So we're going to take sit down off. The sit down is finished. What's next? Next is time to eat. We're going to eat toast. Let's eat. And while your child was eating, you would put this visual timetable in front of them so they knew what was happening and what's going to happen next. And now eating is finished. So we need to, good thinking, we need to take eat toast off the visual timetable. It's finished. Next, it's time to put the plate in the sink. Let's put our plate in the sink. Good tidying. Put plate in sink is finished. Take it off the visual timetable. And now our mealtime is finished. You did some really good listening, some good sitting, some good eating, and good tidying. It's finished. So we're going to, good thinking, let's take it off. And mealtime is finished. So now we'll go back to our original visual timetable because talking about mealtime visual timetables is now finished. Take my pen and I'm going to cross off mealtime visual timetable. Next, we'll do a summary and we'll say goodbye. So I hope you enjoyed that activity and you were able to have a go with your child of using a visual timetable to guide them through the routine of their mealtime. As I showed you, you can also use a visual timetable for lots of different things you do in your day. You can do it for something like this, like a mealtime, or it might be their bedtime routine, or getting up and ready to go out of the house. I hope you have a go with your child. You can just do a really simple version with just a piece of paper and a pen, and I hope you find that useful. Do please keep checking on our page for videos which have already been uploaded and more videos to come. The videos that are already up there you can rewatch at any time. If you have any questions, then you can have a look at our website, particularly the advice and support section, where you can have a look for the answer to your question on there. I will show you the website. This is the website address. So it is www.evelina.nhs.uk/community speech and language, where you can find lots of advice on there. If you still can't find the answer to your question on the website, then you can always email us and someone will be in touch with you. This is the email address. So the email address is gst-tr.contactslt@nhs.net. If you email that, then someone will get back in contact with you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful. Goodbye. Bye-bye.